long gone. Inside, shadows danced, cast by a single flickering light bulb in the hallway. The dim light created an eerie atmosphere, making the shadows seem almost alive, moving and shifting with a life of their own. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp wood and something ancient, unsettling. It was as if the house itself was breathing, exhaling the memories of all who had lived there before. Charlotte shivered, pulling her cardigan tighter around her shoulders. The chill in the air was more than just the cold. It was a feeling that crept into her bones, making her feel as if she were being watched. It wasn't just the cold seeping through the drafty walls. It was an oppressive presence, a weight that seemed to press down on her from all sides. It was the house itself. The very walls seemed to whisper secrets, the floorboards creaked with every step, and the air was thick with an unspoken history. It felt alive, breathing down her neck with each gust of wind. The sensation was unnerving, as if the house was aware of her presence and was watching her every move. She glanced at the grandfather clock ticking ominously in the corner. Almost time. The sound of the ticking was a constant reminder of the passage of time, each tick echoing like a heartbeat in the silence. She smoothed down the tablecloth, her unease growing with every gust of wind that rattled the windows. The table was set for a feast, but the atmosphere was anything but festive. This was supposed to be a Thanksgiving to remember. The table was adorned with all the trimmings, but the joy and warmth that usually accompanied the holiday were absent. Instead, it felt like walking into a nightmare. The house seemed to close in around her, the shadows lengthening and the air growing colder. Charlotte couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, and that the farmhouse held secrets that were better left undisturbed. The dining table, a hulking, claw-footed beast of dark wood, dominated the room. Its presence was almost oppressive, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the flickering candlelight. The air was thick with an unspoken tension, a palpable sense of unease that clung to every corner. Charlotte carefully laid out the silverware. Each clink echoed in the silence, amplifying the sense of foreboding that pressed down on her. She moved with deliberate slowness, as if any sudden motion might shatter the fragile calm. The silverware, polished to a mirror finish, reflected her anxious face back at her. She kept replaying her grandmother's words in her head. Family traditions are sacred. Those words had been a mantra, a guiding principle that had shaped so many of her actions. But now, in the dim light of the dining room, they felt more like a curse than a blessing. But what kind of tradition were they upholding in this crumbling house? The walls, once vibrant with life and laughter, now seemed to sag under the weight of years and secrets. The house was a relic, a monument to a past that refused to let go. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Charlotte froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. The sound was a sharp intrusion, a reminder that she was not alone. She strained her ears, trying to catch any other noise, but the house had fallen silent once more.
"Alex," she called out, her voice thin in the oppressive silence. The name hung in the air, unanswered, swallowed by the darkness that seemed to press in from all sides. She took a hesitant step forward, her hand reaching out as if to grasp something solid in the void.
No answer. Just the incessant drumming of rain against the window panes. The storm outside was a relentless force, its fury mirrored in the turmoil within her. Each raindrop was a tiny hammer, driving home the sense of isolation and the distant moan of the wind. She glanced at the door leading to the attic, a place she had always avoided. The wind howled, as if trying to warn her, to keep her from venturing further into the unknown, its paint peeling like scabs. An unsettling memory flickered, her grandmother's gaunt face, her voice raspy, whispering, "Never go up there." The attic was a forbidden place, a repository of family secrets that were better left undisturbed. Some doors are best left unopened. Charlotte swallowed, pushing the memory down. She knew that some mysteries were too dangerous to uncover, that some truths could shatter the fragile peace she had managed to hold on to. But the pull of the unknown was strong, and she found herself inching closer to the attic door, her hand trembling as it reached for the handle. They had arrived 2 days ago, a young couple seeking solace from the city's chaos. The farmhouse, shrouded in mist, had seemed almost welcoming then. Margaret, their grandmother, had greeted them with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes.
"Welcome home," she'd croaked, her voice like dry leaves rustling.
Even then, Charlotte had sensed something off. Margaret's cheerfulness felt forced, her eyes holding a glint of something unreadable. Alex, ever the optimist, had attributed it to her age and isolation. But Charlotte couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that clung to her like cobwebs. The silence from upstairs stretched on, unbearable. Charlotte's anxiety morphed into full-blown fear. She called out for Alex again, her voice cracking.
Alex?
Silence. She couldn't take it anymore. Ignoring the voice whispering warnings in the back of her mind, Charlotte crept towards the attic door. The floorboards groaned under her weight, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the stillness. The attic door creaked open, revealing a staircase swallowed by darkness. The musty smell of decay wafted down, making her stomach churn.
Alex?
She called out, her voice trembling. Then she saw him. He lay sprawled on the dusty floor, his eyes blank and staring, a single sunflower clutched in his lifeless hand. The same type of sunflower that adorned the dining table downstairs. Charlotte stumbled down the stairs, her mind a maelstrom of fear and confusion. She could barely see through the dim light, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. Each step felt like an eternity, the shadows around her seeming to close in with every passing second. She had to keep moving, had to find a way out of this nightmare. The dining room was bathed in an eerie, pulsating light. It was as if the very walls were alive, breathing in sync with some unseen force. The once familiar room now felt alien, every piece of furniture casting long, sinister shadows. The light seemed to pulse with a rhythm, a heartbeat that echoed in her ears. The air crackled with an unseen energy. It was thick, almost tangible, making it hard to breathe. Every hair on her body stood on end, a primal instinct warning her of the danger that lurked within. The atmosphere was charged, electric, as if the very fabric of reality was being stretched to its limits. And Margaret stood at the head of the table, her presence commanding and otherworldly. She seemed to be the source of the pulsating light, her figure bathed in an unholy glow. There was something different about her, something that made Charlotte's blood run cold. Her frail frame now grotesquely contorted, twisted in ways that defied nature. It was as if her very bones had been reshaped, molded by some dark force. The sight was both horrifying and mesmerizing, a grotesque dance of flesh and bone, her eyes glowing with an unholy light, piercing through the darkness. They were not the eyes of the woman Charlotte once knew, but something far more sinister. They seemed to see right through her, stripping away her defenses and laying her soul bare. The once familiar face was a mask of terrifying ecstasy. It was a look of pure, unadulterated joy, twisted by the darkness that had taken hold. The expression was both beautiful and horrifying, a testament to the power that now coursed through Margaret.
Join us, Charlotte. The harvest is plentiful. The voice was both inviting and menacing, a siren's call that promised both salvation and damnation. It echoed in her mind, pulling her towards the table, towards the source of the light.
The chanting reached a fever pitch, the room pulsing in sync with it. The voices blended together, creating a symphony of madness that filled the air. It was a sound that resonated deep within her, shaking her to her very core. Charlotte felt a strange pull towards the table, towards Margaret. It was as if an invisible force was guiding her, drawing her closer to the source of the light. She tried to resist, but her body moved of its own accord, her feet carrying her forward. Her fear began to dissipate, replaced by a chilling sense of acceptance. It was as if the darkness had seeped into her very soul, numbing her to the terror that surrounded her. She felt a strange calm wash over her, a sense of inevitability. She saw it then, a flicker of recognition in Margaret's eyes, a knowing smile spreading across her face. It was a smile that spoke of secrets, of knowledge that had been hidden away. It was a smile that promised answers but at a terrible cost. The same smile she had greeted them with. It was a smile that had once been warm and welcoming, now twisted by the darkness that had taken hold. It was a smile that promised both salvation and damnation, a promise that Charlotte could not ignore. The smile of a predator welcoming its prey. It was a smile that spoke of hunger, of a desire that could not be sated. It was a smile that promised both pleasure and pain, a promise that Charlotte could not resist. Years later, the old farmhouse stood silhouetted against the setting sun, its windows dark and lifeless. The storm had passed, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. A young couple stood at the foot of the porch, their faces filled with the anticipation of a fresh start. The man knocked on the door, the sound echoing in the stillness. The door creaked open, revealing a woman with Charlotte's eyes, but her grandmother's chilling smile.
Welcome home, you're just in time for Thanksgiving.
The cycle continues.